Hi, I'm Mark Winberg from Velocity Archery, and we'd like to thank you for purchasing our Swarm Recurve crossbow. We'd like to do a short video owner's manual presentation for you to make sure all the assembly goes well and you get years of trouble-free shooting with our crossbow. So let's dive into it here. Okay, all of our crossbows come complete packages. You have the sling, rail lube, cocking device, quiver, bolts, everything you need for first-time shooters. Now the Swarm is a little bit different in that it is a recurve, and we have a stringer that you'll need a little later in the assembly process. We have an owner's manual for your reference if you like to read that. We'll have that for you, and a window decal for your truck. We'll also come with 4 2219 aluminum bolts, 16 inches in length. Here's our hardware kit, includes our string and all the things we'll need to assemble the Swarm recurve. Our recurve limb, our stirrup. Here's our cocking rope. We'll use that a little later as we're sighting in our crossbow. Sling. Here's our grip stock and our 6-bolt quiver. All right, I'm going to get the box out of the way so we can get going on the assembly process. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is open up our hardware kit. And inside we got a string and screws and washers, limb tips, spacer, metal plate, and 2 rubber pads. All right, now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to prep the limb for assembly. Now you'll see the limb has this words the Swarm on both sides. So the Swarm, just like you'd read it, you want to be up. Now the first thing we're going to do with the limb, you'll notice there's 2 silver lines. These are the centering lines, and it'll come into play when we both mount the limb to the crossbow and as we apply the rubber pads to the limb. The rubber pads are important. They just make sure the limb doesn't get beat up and banged up. We want to center the rubber pad in between the 2 silver lines on the limb. That's on one side, and we're going for the opposite side with this one. So again, we just want to line up, make sure we're between the 2 silver lines. So we got a pad on what I'm going to call the bottom of the limb here and the top of the limb where the words Swarm are printed. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is we want to get our composite spacer. Now you'll notice the spacer has a lip on it. We want this lip up. Okay, so we're going to slide the spacer into the opening, and we're going to kind of squeeze it in place. It's pretty easy, and you can notice that L-shaped lip is in the up position. All right, now we're going to slide our recurve limb into the opening like so, and just take your time, don't have to be in a hurry. And we want to make sure our 2 silver lines, you can see the silver lines on each side of our flight rail. Okay, and now we're going to put the butt end of the stock to the ground, and we're going to grab our metal plate. Now you notice our metal plate has a little dimple in it. We want to make sure that this screw contacts that metal plate in the dimple. So we're going to slide the metal plate inside on top of the rubber pad, and again we want it centered in between the 2 silver lines. Now we're going to take one of the Allen wrenches that's supplied with the kit, and we're going to start tightening the Allen wrench screw with the Allen wrench, excuse me. So you probably have to bend over a little bit, lean over, and make sure that set screw is contacting the metal plate in the dimple. And if you got to adjust it a little bit, that's not a problem. All right, now you don't want to over tighten this. If you over tighten it, there is a chance you could crack the limb. So once you're snug, again, just take about 1/8 to 1/4 of a turn max and you're good to go. You won't have any problems. All right, now we want to take our limb tips. We're going to slide a limb tip over each end of the limb, like so. All right, now we're good to go there. Okay, the next step in the process is our stirrup. We want to grab our stirrup, and our stirrup goes in the slots on both sides of the stock. So you're going to have to spread it just a little bit and slide it in place. Now we're going to take our 10 by 24 5/8 inch long bolts. We're going to slide a lock washer over top of each one, like so, and now we're going to put it in place. All right, and you might have to adjust your stirrup just a little bit, make sure. And again, like all screws, I always finger tighten first. Start with your fingers. That way, if you don't use the wrench, you have a better chance of making sure the screw goes into the holes nice and straight and there's no cross thread. So again, screw them in with your fingers, and then grab, again, the supplied Allen wrench and tighten it up. Make sure everything's nice and snug. Okay. Okay, now what we're going to do is apply the string to the limb. Now it's a two-step process. Number one, you want the supplied recurve stringer, and then you want, again, the string. Now, the way I recommend doing this is go ahead and put the string on one side of the limb. So I go ahead and I'll put that string there like so, and then I just let it hang down. Now, the secret to the stringer is to start with the bottom and come over top, okay? And let it lay on top. You don't want to put the stringer in both grooves. You just want it on one groove. I recommend using the bottom groove, okay? Now, as you use the bottom groove on the opposite side, you always keep pressure with your hand. That keeps everything tight and keeps the stringer from falling off the limb tips. Okay, now what we're going to have to do is put the crossbow towards the ground, put the stirrup down on the ground just like you would normally do if you were cocking the crossbow. Now, you want to make sure that the safety switch is in the fire position. If the switch is in the safe position, you can't cock the crossbow. So you always have to have the crossbow in the fire position to cock it, okay? All right, so the next step in the process is to go ahead and stand up. Now, you want to put the ball of your feet through the stirrup. So you never want just your toes to be on the stirrup. So as we have a hold of the stringer, we want to make sure that our safety is in the fire position. If the safety is in the safe position, it will not cock. So you want to make sure your safety latch is in the fire position or forward. Okay, so we're going to pull up on our stringer until you hear it cock. Okay, once you hear the click, you know that the mechanism's been cocked and the safety automatically goes into the safe position. Now, what we want to do now is we already have our string on the limb tip on this side. So what we're going to do is grab the string and we're going to slide it through the loop in the stringer. Okay, now we're going to start on the top notch of the limb tip and pull down like so. Okay, you'll see it slack, okay? So we have our string in the position. Make sure our loop's nice and straight. You want the string to be in the center of the limb on both sides. Now, what we're going to do is put our foot back in the stirrup. We're going to take our index finger. This is the anti-dry fire mechanism. We're going to push the anti-dry fire mechanism forward, and while holding down, we slide the safety from safe to fire. Now, if you don't feel comfortable doing this, this can also be a two-person job. You can hold, one person can hold the weight of the crossbow with their hands while you have a friend pull the trigger for you. Now, you have to hold this. Don't let it dry fire, okay? You have to hold on tight. So I'm going to stand up and push forward, safety to fire. Now I'm going to pull the trigger, and I'll show you, you can do this by yourself. Now be ready, it's a lot of weight. So hold it tight, and now you're good, okay? Now your swarm recurve crossbow is strung. So we're gonna pull the stringer off of one end. Now, this is a little bit tougher, but not so difficult. You just peel it off like that, and you're ready to go. Save your stringer, because when your original string wears out, you'll need your stringer to redo the bow. Okay, moving on to the next step. Now that we got our swarm strung, we're going to install the sling. Now, as you open up the bag, you're going to reach in and grab the string. There's a second plastic bag holding a stud and a washer. Now, we're going to take the stud and the washer out of the bag. And I always like to use a little bit of Loctite, and I prefer the blue Loctite because it is removable. You never want to use red or green on anything that you may remove sometime down the road. But what this will do is help the screw from backing out as you're going down the road or driving on your quad going to your stand. This will just keep things from loosening up on you at the most unopportune time. Now I'm going to grab a smaller Allen wrench out of our quiver mount bag to help us align the scope mount. So I'm going to take this wrench and I'm going to slide it into the hole, and I'm going to slightly rotate the stud so that the hole is perpendicular to the stock. This rear stud already comes mounted from the factory. Okay, we're going to take our sling, and you'll notice on one side we have a rubber strip, on the other side we don't. You always want the rubber strip to be facing you. It kind of helps hold the sling in place. So when you're assembling the sling on the bow, you want the rubber strip down, facing the stock. So we're going to back our screw out here, and again, get some more blue Loctite. Again, the sling, there's a lot of movement back and forth, and it's really easy for this screw to get loose and come out. And so go ahead and put a little Loctite on there. Keep that from happening. Okay, we're going to repeat the process on the bottom. All right, that's good. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to mount the quiver mount to the stock. Now, the holes for the quiver, there's two holes right here. You want to use the center holes in the disc. So we're going to place the disc like so. And we have the two flathead 832 screws that we're going to use. And again, start them with your fingers and make sure both are aligned. And that just keeps you from cross-threading the screws again. So what we're going to do, and again, this is a composite piece. You don't need to bear down with all your might. You just snug it up, just like your oil filter on your truck. So once you got them snug, all right, then just take the wrench and give it about 1/8 to 1/4 turn, and it's secure. It won't fall out. It won't loosen up. Everything's nice and tight. Okay, the second part of the quiver, quiver mounting system, excuse me, we're going to mount the disc to the quiver stem. We have two round circles that mount into the holes onto the stem. Now, when you're mounting the disc to the stem, you want to make sure that your latch is pointing to the right. So we'll get these two things aligned up and in place. Now, we're going to use self-tapping Phillips head screws to mount the disc into the stem. The only tool we don't have come with the crossbow that you'll need is a number 2 Phillips. So we're going to screw the screws in, get it going good, started. Go to the second one, make sure everything's lined up, it's in good shape. And again, we're just going to tighten until it snugs. We don't want to bear down. Okay, that one's snug as well. And you can just take it and check. Make sure we're good. Now, to mount the quiver to the crossbow, we're going to place the quiver hood towards the stirrup and in about the 2 o'clock position. Now, once it's on the disc, we're going to turn it until your quiver stem, so your hood and your arrow gripper are at 3 and 9 o'clock. Take your latch on your quiver mount, turn it to the right, and it's locked down. Okay, next on the assembly list is our red dot scope that comes with your bow. Now, what I do is I'll go ahead and take the thumb nuts off, and you'll notice that this one screw is slotted. Okay, so it has a lot of adjustability. We have multiple slots for you to mount your scope. You can mount it far, you can mount it close. 3 to 6 inches is a normal eye relief. I tend to like mine towards the back, so I'm going to mount it in the 2 slots. Now, it's very, very important that both of these studs are in the slots on the scope mount. Okay, so again, we have both of our studs in the slots. Now we're going to take our clamps, and you'll see where one end is a little thicker than the other. We want the thin end to be towards the top. Okay, so we're going to put that up there, and we're going to take our thumb nut and start tightening down. Finger tight. Okay. All right, we're going to put our second clamp on, and then I'm going to reach down and grab the thumb wheel I dropped there. Go ahead and start this process. Now, I'm taking my finger, and on the back side, I'm holding that stud in. I'm pressing in and holding it against the scope mount as I'm tightening this down. Okay, finger tight. I'm going to give it a check, make sure we're clamped down. And then the last process we're going to do is we can take a straight tip screwdriver. You can see the slots in the thumb wheels. You can tighten them down with a screwdriver if you'd like to be more secure. Okay, our assembly's done. Now we're ready to go sight them in. I want to thank you for purchasing our Swarm recurve. If you have any questions at all, you can refer to the owner's manual that comes with your package. You can go to our website, velocityarchery.com. There's a place you can send us an email there with any of your questions, or you can give us a call at 270-231-2911. I'm Mark Winberg for Velocity Archery, and we appreciate your business. Thank you.